Hello, my name is Asia Williams, and I am going to be talking to you guys today about stress, not only in adults, but in children as well. There's three variations of stress. There's positive stress, tolerable stress, and toxic stress. And today I'm going to be focusing more on the toxic side and how we can prevent our children from seeing these forms of stress, period. Today I'm going to be going over types of stress, main types of toxic stress and its causes. We're going to be going over children and their introduction to toxic stress and how it can affect their mind and their bodies. Also, adults and adult support. Also, going to be going over also going to be going over resiliency and prevention of toxic stress in our children, how we can shadow our children from these stressors. As a substitute teacher, I do see these different levels of stress every day, from positive to toxic, and sometimes the toxic is more, it can be seen more to the naked eye. It can be displays of behavioral problems. Sometimes it can be developmental. It can be socio-emotional. For example, kids can sometimes just shut down, but developmentally, some kids stop talking. Some kids stop participating in school. Some kids, if you're in a bracket of 5 to younger, just come to school and behaviors are out the window. And you have to see these changes. You have to see the changes in the kids and be able to recognize these type of stressors. Is it coming from home? And open up the conversation. First off, I'm going to be talking to you guys about toxic stress. The definition of toxic stress is usually when someone is under a great amount of stress. For children, it can be neglect. It can be moms not paying attention. It can be teachers not paying attention. Mom's yelling, mom's mad. It can also happen in relationships. Mom's yelling at dad, mom's yelling at grandma, grandma's yelling at mom. I see this every day. It hurts. I don't like it. It's loud. Toxic stress. With parents, it can be financial. I can't make the rent. I can't pay the bill. I need a new car. We're walking. We're on the bus. Types of stress. And these types of things, when parents are experiencing it, it can be pushed onto our children, and that's what we are preventing. That's what we are trying to prevent. And other things such as domestic abuse in parents, that's very real. That's a cause of toxic stress, and you have to be able to see those signs sometimes to even help out a person that you may think is going through this. Verbal abuse, it comes in very different ways. You can't always see it. It's jealousy, a jealous relationship, a carefree relationship, a resentful relationship, and these it's not only with your partner, but it can sometimes be within your family, be within your social group, be within your work. So you have to be able to recognize these things and try to shield or cope yourself. Keep your energy, keep your peace. I did research on, and I came across womensadvocate.org, which is a site, and it gives a lot of information on domestic abuse. It gives a lot of information on signs of abuse if you don't really know them. Like I said, jealousy, being resentful, being verbally abusive, being mentally abusive, physically abusive. All of these things can be found on that website, and it's something a lot of women can look into. Not only women, men as well, can look into and learn these signs and learn how we can cope. And it also has a lot of great resources. Moving forward, I'm going to get into toxic parental behaviors. I'm going to get into toxic parental behaviors and relationships. And toxic parental behaviors can be, neglect, being verbally abusive to the child, such as screaming all the time, not saying the nicest of words. It can even go up into sexual abuse. And these effects can cause so much trauma, not only to the child, but it's with the adult as well. There's something that's happening to the adult that is not right, and that's causing them to lash out in these ways towards children. The relationships towards these children doesn't just stop at the parent. It can be family as well. When family is neglectful, doesn't want to see the child, doesn't want to have interactions of any type, this brings trauma to the child as well. And sometimes it's not always evident. Sometimes we don't always know we're doing it, but trying to recognize these signs so we can put on the light bulb. Okay, I need to change these ways. But dealing with toxic parents, sometimes it goes into adulthood, and you have to say, I'm not going to deal with it. Some people even totally do the break and cut it off, and you don't want this for your children. You don't want this thought in their mind as they're growing up. So we're trying our best to excuse me, we're trying our best to shield our children away from it. And even suicide attempts come from toxic relationships, toxic stress. Emily Granada on choosingtherapy.com gives a lot of ways to deal with parents, gives a lot of ways for children and adolescents and adults to deal with parents that may be dealing with toxic stress, and they have toxic parentals, and they need ways to cope, or either ways to get away and try to break free. There's So now that we have gone over parental behaviors, I'm going to go over recognizing parental stressors. Like I said before, parental stressors such as financial, your job, finding childcare, these things are stressors, and they can be pushed on to our children. So it's very important that we have the correct adult support. First 5 LA gives a lot of adult support. You can take classes, there's therapy. Sometimes just having the correct family and the correct people around you, and keeping and maintaining healthy relationships is enough support so that you can have some of these burdens lifted off your shoulders, and you don't have to, you can be the best parents to your children that you want. By creating environments that promote resilience in our children, we are promoting and advocating for our children. So next, I am going to go into resiliency and how we can promote it by being the parents we can be. By recognizing those stressors, you can learn how to switch them off, and you can learn how to cope and deal with them so that you're able to deal with your children. You're able to do things like take walks. You can talk to your children, read to your children, and openly communicate with your children. All of these things are ways to prevent and reduce toxic stress. When your child feels like they have an open communication relationship, it's not always mom's way or the highway, or you have an understanding, then that is another way to promote resiliency in your child and promote a great comeback if they do fall into that slope of stress. In conclusion, I have gone over our main points: definition of stress, types of toxic stress, domestic abuse, resiliency, trying to prevent, ways to prevent toxic stress in our children. When we're toxic stress causes so many things, from mental to our bodies, and usually um, it's not always seen. So we have to be able to recognize these things. And the not always seen can be things such as disease, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure. And we don't want our children to experience those things, and us as adults don't want to go through those things either. These things can go from, like I said, child to adolescence. So we want to make sure that we are being the best that we can be, and we are doing the best that we can for ourselves. And I hope that some of this information was very valuable to you, and that you liked the information that I gave to you. I hope that it did help someone. Thank you. And